And basically, it's the New England FO front office is kind of cheap, but they are sort of paying him what he's worth. And Jose Gonçalves is sort of a weird person because he spent a lot of years languishing in Europe, languishing in places like Switzerland, and now he wants a little bit more money, or he wants to go somewhere else. He wants to test Europe again, maybe. So a lot of New England fans are really worried that he's going to quit on the team, that he's going to go to England. He's going to have some sort of oh, who was that Vancouver guy? Alan Rocha, who was traded to DC and then forced himself to Switzerland. Um, they're sort of worried that that might happen. If that doesn't happen, though, New England's looking up. They're a very young team. They're one of my favorite teams to watch. Honestly, I thought New England sporting Kansas City last year was sort of the underrated playoff series of the year. Um, I really enjoyed how New England put together attacks. They had a lot of pieces. They had Diego Fagundez, they had Agudelo, they had Lee Wen, they had Kellen Rowe, they had Sire Sen, they had Dimitri Mbongo occasionally. Now they've added to that Patrick Mullins from the draft, who was the consensus number one pick at some point before the MLS draft happened. Obviously, that didn't work out. Um, and they've also got that designated player who's been a bane on them, and Jerry Bankson. But New England fans are a little bit optimistic about him going into the year with the preseason happening. So maybe you've got sort of a there was this DP for DC a couple years ago who, wow, I don't know why I don't remember his name, but he was a Montenegrin, and he was terrible for almost all of his career until his last year when he had to step up and play D-Rose role, and he did it exceptionally. Boskovic, that's the guy. So maybe we've got a Boskovic situation with Bankson. We'll see. They also picked up this guy Newman from the draft. Pretty MLS ready, sort of similar in that sense to DC's Birnbaum and Philly's goalie. Maybe less MLS ready, but New England's expecting pretty big things from them. Other than that, though, Jay Hapes is still our coach, another former MLS player who's done pretty well for himself in the coaching ranks. A lot of good young talent. One of the Rookie of the Year candidates is Andrew Farrell at right back, who can. People are hoping he'll eventually pair with Gonçalves if they keep Gonçalves happy. They've got one of my favorite names in MLS in O'Brien Woodbine as their backup right back, and he plays for Jamaica, so that is kind of cool. So yeah.
I mean, I would say that there's also a pretty large expectation on Kellen Rowe this year.
Oh yeah, he was great last year. I think he's about 20, 21 years old. He was fantastic last year. He might have been one of the fastest players in the league. He was short. He was really maneuverable. He made devastating runs. A lot of his goals came off of back post runs where it looked like the attack was going to fade, but oh look, there's Colin Rowe. Oh, and now they've scored, and now it's 4-0.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting big things from him, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table.
Me too. I think he's got in addition to blinding pace, he's got a great shot. He seems to he's one of those guys that has that really quality soccer IQ. He just really seems to be able to anticipate the game and, always good positioning and awareness of what's going on around him. I also see big things out of him. It's fun for us to watch up here in Seattle because he is a local boy. He comes out of Federal Way, and, I would not be shocked to see him in the national team, a couple of years down the road. So that's pretty exciting for us.
Absolutely. One thing I did uncover that's really exciting for New England, they're putting in new turf.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be good turf. It's going to be similar to Portland's turf. And Josh seemed to run away for a second, but Portland's turf sort of reminds me more of grass than it does Seattle's or New England's old ones. So that's another reason why New England fans are a little bit pessimistic, because they're going to be like, oh man, we have to play Thierry Henry at home now, and now we're going to have to play all those important players who didn't want to play in New England's concrete. So
right.
that'll be interesting to see.
Where do you see them at the end of the year?
I think they make the playoffs. I think it's between them and DC for that last playoff spot. People are high on Philly, but I'm not so sure yet. I'm thinking obviously Kansas City's up there. Obviously New York's up there. I got to put Houston just because of pedigree. I think Montreal's going to be terrible. I'm not excited about Chicago. I'm not excited about that organization in general. So I think it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Kansas City, New York, Houston, Toronto, and then between DC and New England. And honestly, I'm excited for DC signings, but I'm not optimistic about making the playoffs. So I think New England beats us out.
Interesting. That's a bold statement. I mean, I agree with you, but it's got to be tough, to.
I mean, they're sort of like the Colorado of the East. They have a lot of young talent, and they're pretty good, and they're really exciting. And Josh is back. What up, Josh? And you should unmute your mic because I talked about Portland's turf because New England's getting new turf.
Oh.
That's going to be like Portland's turf, and they're going to have to play Thierry Henry at home now.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's a good reason to get real crap turf. People won't come play on your turf.
All right. Well, Seattle is not changing our turf.
Seattle is not changing its turf.
We're going to go into our third year, even though the FO us the last time around that was a mistake and that they definitely wanted to do it after 2 years this time, and they didn't. So we're all thrilled about that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that bad turf, like. The people who get beat up the most on bad turf are your own players.
That's the argument. I've tried to make that argument.
You're like, oh, it's a good tactical advantage. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Great. So Portland has to play on our bad turf twice. Well, we have to play on it 17 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, this year coming up, Portland only has to play on it once.
That is true.
Which is good. It's the magic of the unbalanced schedule.
It's funny how big of a deal we made about the unbalanced schedule for the Cascadia Cup, and all 3 teams have won 1 year in a row, and it wasn't the home team.
Yeah.
Yeah. The team that got to play 4 home games.
Exactly. Seattle was that team. We did not win the Cascadia Cup.
Yeah.
Portland did actually, because it was
in 2012. Yeah. I think we have a good shot at retaining it, in large part because Vancouver looks.
Yeah.
And hopefully next week we'll have somebody come on and talk about that, which is a shame because Vancouver is one of my favorite teams in the league.
Indeed.
I like them.
Anything else to say about New England there?
I'm game to answer any questions, but that's about all I've got. So.
Okay, well, while we're still talking about Portland, I guess we can talk about the rebrand this week.
Yeah, or not. I mean,
we can spend 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, they made a really big deal out of renaming the stadium from Jeld-Wen Field to Providence Park, and anybody who knows anything about companies in Portland knows that Jeld-Wen is not doing very well. So, and Ian, could you do that? It was like the least subtle exiting. Yeah, so sorry.
Oh, Jesus. We can edit.
Jeld-Wen Field is being renamed to Providence Park. Anybody who knows anything about companies in Portland knows that Jeld-Wen's not doing very well. They make doors and windows, but they're in a lot of trouble. And Providence is a healthcare company. The big thing about it is that it's a 15-year sponsorship deal for the stadium. So I think it'll be more money in for both the Timbers and the Thorns, and maybe it'll help them build some new seats because I think we hit 11,000 on the season ticket waiting list, and everybody who's towards the end of that list, you should just give up. Just give up, man. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not sure how much else there is to say. That's
There's really not. There's
not
people,
as big of a deal.
Mary
Yeah.
Paulson made a huge deal out of it because he's Mary Paulson, and that's
Well, and
what
everyone
he
was
does.
I loved the ideas that were floating around about
Right.
Merritt's gonna buy it from the city and he's gonna kick out the football team and
Yeah.
that was good stuff.
No need. No need.
Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna let you guys jump in on this. I'm not sure why Columbus Crew's crest is superior to all others.
It isn't.
Yeah. Okay. No, I will
Hey.
say, did you see all those redesigns that guy had posted for
They
the
were
live
fantastic.
clip? Those were beautiful. I was looking at those
Beautiful.
and I was like, wow. How? So I see really amazing design just floated out for free on the internet. I don't know how it is that we wind up with so much ugly stuff in this league because fans are just cranking out. I mean, even the San Jose rebrand that they came out with, was
It was awful.
yeah,
worst.
Not great. Yeah.
yeah, it's not
The
great.
single worst crest in MLS history.
Well,
Well, the Revs
fighting
are still
Wait
holding
a
on to that.
There's some bad ones out there, but yeah, I mean, there's so much really great stuff that fans are.
That's what
There
happens
are-
when you listen to focus groups, though, right?
Oh, and since we're on the subject, we never get to do this. We can plug next week's podcast where we're going to be talking to Zarangatang and the guy who's running the Best Crest competition, Steven MC19, about all the design stuffs since it's still preseason and it'll be awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
And yeah, okay, so I put that thing in there about Columbus Crew because I really like the crest. I don't care what anybody else says. I voted for them in the crest competition. They ended up getting the wild card out of the fourth place in that group, which I mean, I was really surprised by that. So yeah,
Horrible.
I don't know.
Horrible.
I like it for sentimental reasons because we always beat Columbus in the 90s in the playoffs, and when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, I thought it looked really cool. So
That is the
Get off my lawn.
That was the focus group. That was the focus group. They were like, let's get some 8-year-olds and ask them what they like. They drew that, and now they're stuck with it.
Oh, that's good.
Oh man! Speaking of design, I really like the redesign of our MLS actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Looks sharp.
I agree with most of the comments that we saw near the top about that the comment padding was a little heavy.
The padding, yeah.
a little
But-
bit much.
Honestly, overall, everything else
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with. It's a beautiful redesign. It seems sleek and modern and simple, and it's weird to talk about a subreddit like that, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's slick. It's easier on the eyes, and whatever's easier on the eyes is best. So they did a good job there.
And we'll instantly get to be talking to the guy who designed the logo next week. The Reddit MLS logo on the top
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Which is the MLS logo.
Yeah, still, but I'm
I
sure,
like. We're friends. I like him a lot. I'm just throwing this out there. That is the MLS logo.
I'm sure he had a lot of other input into the design too, so we can
I'm
talk
sure.
to him about that. Yeah, I like it. I like the colors. As it's been well noted here, I don't have the best opinions on design, but I enjoy it.
All right. Well, I'm really looking forward to the design episode next week, and let's wrap it up, guys. Do we have predictions this week?
Oh wow.
Oh man.
Oh,
Let's forget about that. Yeah. What's coming up this week?
My bold prediction did not come true. I predicted we'd beat Toronto in that preseason game. That didn't happen.
How could you tell?
Yeah.
Actually, you're
Yeah, how
right.
could you see?
It might have happened. Who knows? I was really excited to watch Michael Bradley, and then I saw fog.
And then
Yeah.
the stream was terrible quality too. It was like 30 minutes
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. And then I fell asleep, and then I woke up and DC lost, and I was like, oh well, these things happen.
I will go ahead and predict. Oh, what should I predict? I predict this is going to be the week when Matthias Laba finds where his home will be for the next season. for the forthcoming
Do
season.
you want to make a prediction on where?
Yeah, I predict it will be a Western Conference team, and it will be
Dallas?
I'm gonna piggyback on Josh here, and I'm gonna say that my prediction is that it's San Jose.
Yeah,
I'm
they
I'm
could
gonna
use some
piggyback
help.
on this, and I'm gonna say that it's gonna be made on Friday.
Wait,
Oh.
I'm gonna piggyback. I'm gonna piggyback on my own prediction and say it's Vancouver, so they keep him in the country.
Oh.
And they do need some help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna piggyback on you guys. You guys covered all the bases.
Yeah. No, pick the time. Pick the time of the announcement. Anything left.
12:30.
7:32 and 19 seconds. And,
Yeah. All right.
so that leaves me, and I predict that the Tar Heels will beat Duke tomorrow. Oh, this is a soccer podcast.
Yeah. You. And you live in Minnesota as well. I just.
Yeah, but tomorrow's Carolina Duke Day. It's it's a
Is that a national? Is that a national thing?
It's a state holiday in North Carolina.
State holiday, right?
All right, I am gonna predict though, that speaking of North Carolina, Brad Knighton, who is the backup to Bobby Shuttleworth. I almost said Jesus Shuttleworth because of that basketball movie, but I didn't. Brad Knighton, who's the backup to Shuttleworth, will end up winning that goalie job from Shuttleworth and will take the Revs to the conference final this year.
That's gonna happen this week.
Yeah.
You do,
Yes.
I would like to see some season-long predictions that maybe we can do. Maybe the last cast before the season starts.
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a programming note or if we should leave this in, but that's what I feel.
We'll do it.
Just all of the listeners remind us when we forget. We always forget.
Yeah, no, we could do like a, kind of, we could do, what we should do is, we should pick all the playoff teams from both conference.
Oh.
Yeah.
And position.
1 to 5.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And
yep, why not?
trophy winners. Let's do it.
I really feel like the U.S. Open Cup is,
A crapshoot.
that's one word for it. I was gonna call it like a coin tossing contest. The team that won it last year
Was very good at soccer.
The team that won it last year was technically a soccer team.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so, and that's why when people are like, "Oh, you think Portland will win the Open Cup?" I was like, maybe. I know that they want to win the Open Cup, but it will probably be an MLS team. That's about the only prediction I'm willing to make there. Probably not going to be a USL team.
So does it count as an MLS team if Orlando City wins it next year? 'Cause they very well could.
Ooh.
Good question. I don't know.
I would say no.
Like,
I would-
do we take credit for that? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do
Yeah.
we take credit for that, or does Garber take credit? Because that's a different question.
Garber will always take credit for things.
Well,
Yeah.
I will go ahead and take a little bit of credit since I said it now.
Yeah, for predicting. Yeah. I think if Orlando won, you know how there's like children's books and then there's adult books and there's kind of like preteen books, like Twilight. It would be like Twilight.
That's a good,
Not quite ready.
I like that analogy.
But it's still not a child anymore, but not quite ready to read Dostoevsky. Twilight.
I think a Twilight analogy is as good of a place as any to close this out. Anyone have anything else to add?
No.
Nope, that's it. All right.
After
Fantastic.
Twilight, I'm done.
This has been /MLS podcast. Look forward to the design cast next week, and everybody have a good one.
Woo.
Woo.
All right.
Well done.
So is everyone peacing, or
Any notes? Anything we need to talk about?
I guess I can stop the broadcast.